Hey, so welcome to the channel for another video. This video is going to be a bit different. It's going to be an introduction video to a development series of building a Windows 11 app. Now, Windows 11 is brand new. It was only released on October 5th. So that's why this video is perfect. Now, I'm going to be upfront and say I haven't built a Windows 11 app yet, which is exciting because you're going to come on the journey with me on building the first Windows 11 app. Now, with first experiences of developing against a platform, that means that we often hit problems. So I'm going to encounter some problems along the way, and I'm going to try and fix them, and I'll take you through the fixes. We might not be able to do something, so we might have to scrap them. But in the end, we're going to basically build the Windows 11 app, and we're also going to build the infrastructure backend hosted on Azure. So it's going to be done over a couple of videos, or I should say more than a couple, but it's going to be a series. I hope that you like it, but if you're ready to dive into the introduction, I know I am, I'd say let's get started. Okay, so whenever building any application out, one of the considerations we need to make is what tech are we going to be using in it. So what's the infrastructure that's sitting behind the Windows 11 app? Well, let's talk about it. The first part, well, yes, it's going to be hosted inside Azure. Absolutely everything. So we're going to host an API which the Windows 11 app is going to be talking to. That API is going to use GraphQL as its framework. Next, it's going to have a MySQL database. That MySQL database is going to be fully managed by Azure. I don't want to be the one who has to update it to the latest editions, do things like backups. Azure can handle all that for me. The next thing is, well, we're going to have to store some files, and if you've been watching my other videos, well, best place to do that is Azure Storage. That's going to represent the infrastructure of our application, so we're all good to go. Now, let's talk about the Windows 11 app and what it's going to be using. Well, we need to allow people to log in. I thought a great way to do that would be through Gmail or through Google login. So we'll add Google support to the Windows 11 app. The other thing we're going to do is, well, I want it to be able to communicate in real time with the backend. Now, what does that mean? That means when somebody makes a change in one side, well, it's going to automatically push that update through to the user on the application. For that, we need to use something called SignalR. Now, Windows 11 is going to talk to SignalR. Also, the GraphQL API is going to talk to SignalR. So let's put it in both of those boxes. The other part we need to think about as well is how are we going to build this Windows 11 app? The conventional technology is called UWP for Microsoft and developing Windows desktop apps. But, you know, I'm a React Native developer or React developer. So we're going to be building our Windows 11 app in React Native. Yes, so React Native Windows 11 app. So with that all laid out, that's going to be our application. Now, that's our infrastructure. Let's see how it maps to the customer and what the requirements are going to be. Let's switch across to Edge whilst I just show you what we're going to be building. Alright, so here we are inside Microsoft Edge. Let's switch across to the tab that we're going to use to explain what we're going to be building. So you'll see here I'm on the City of Sydney website. Now, City of Sydney is one of the councils inside New South Wales. Now, common to all councils is what we call a bulk waste service. So what it allows us residents to do, if we've got something like a table, just something that won't fit inside a bin, what we can do is we can book a free pickup from the council to remove that waste. Now let's have a look at City of Sydney down the bottom. You'll see it comes in here where we can book a free pickup for bulky items. You'll see they give an estimate and you can see that it's free. Now, what I thought would be great is if we build a Windows 11 app that allows a resident to do this. So the resident's going to log on to the Windows 11 app, they're going to create an account using their Gmail address, and then they're going to book a request for a pickup. Once that request has been approved, well, the app's going to automatically update itself and tell the user that it's been approved. So that's what you're going to be building, or what we're going to be building across this journey. Let's switch back to the other screen and let's just lay it out a little bit more how those requirements map to the technology. So we know the tech, we also know what we're going to be building for the customer. Next, I'd say is let's get onto their requirements. But first, before we do that, I'd like to take the moment to remind you to hit the like button for this video. And if you haven't already, we'll go and hit the subscribe button, because I'm sure you're going to want to be notified about the following videos where we go ahead and build the Windows 11 app. With that out of the way, what are the customer requirements? Now, the first one is that residents should be able to create an account using Gmail/Google. That's the first provider that we're going to go with. Next, the customer, well, how do we actually validate the residence? So we need to prove that a resident lives at an address. Now, one way of doing that is by them providing a utility bill or one of their recent utility bills. So yes, as a part of the process, the resident is going to upload a PDF to our Windows 11 app. The next part, or the next requirement I should say, is they need to be able to request a bin pickup. And then the last requirement, well, they want real-time status updates on that bin pickup. So has it been requested, has it been approved, and when has it been approved for? So when are they going to actually come? So those are our 4 requirements. Now we're going to map them to the technology. So let's take that first one. So the Gmail user account, well, that works perfectly with that Google integration. The next one of the PDF and uploading the utility bill, well, that maps perfectly with the Azure storage. The next requirement, requesting a bin pickup, well, that kind of works with our API that we've got, and that'll be perfect with the GraphQL and then the database as well. And then the last one is the real-time status updates. Well, that's going to be a combination of that GraphQL, but also that SignalR. So those are them. Now let's talk about them a bit more in detail, and we'll do that by going through the technology. First piece of tech is GraphQL. Now, where's GraphQL going to be used? Well, our Windows 11 app is going to be talking to it. So what's going to happen is the resident's going to go ahead, type in their booking, that booking is going to go into the Windows 11 app, and the Windows 11 app is going to send that booking against the GraphQL endpoint. You'll see here that we're actually going to define a schema that represents that bin pickup. The next technology that we're going to use is Azure Database. So inside of Azure Database, we can actually use MySQL. Now, like I mentioned before, the reason I love this is because it's fully managed. What that means is you'll see down here that basically we get the latest community editions all updated for us. It does things like routine backups. It does things like routine updates and then security as well. You can even go down and you'll see that you can basically integrate it into basically advanced data security and compliance and do a lot with it. So where's that going to be used? Well, when the resident goes and puts their bin pickup in, that bin pickup is going to be stored inside this database. Now, the other part, the other tech that we're going to use is Azure Blob Storage. So let's have a look at that. Well, that's this one. Now, for the bill, that's going to be a PDF. Now, a PDF doesn't fit inside a database. Well, you can do it, but I wouldn't say it's best practice. It's better that it sits over here in blob storage. Now, the part that's cool about blob storage is that we have tiering. Now, what's tiering? So tiering is when we have hot and cold. So what's going to happen is the resident is going to upload their utility bill to prove that they live at that address. Likelihood is that in the future, they're never going to really refer to that utility bill PDF, but we still want to keep it on hand. So for that, we can transition it from being hot to cool or cold storage or archive storage. What that means is we're paying less for the file being stored in Azure, and that's great. Now, that's with the storage out of the way. We know we can store the bin pickup. We know we can store the PDF of the utility bill. How are they logging in with Gmail? Well, we'll be integrating Google's sign-in for that. And you can see here Google Identity. So yes, we're going to be integrating Google Identity into Windows 11 and providing that as the user account creation. Now, once the resident has been able to create their account and can successfully log in, they can then go and request that bin pickup. Now, once they've requested that bin pickup, well, they want to be notified when it's actually complete. So what's going to happen is they're going to be inside the Windows 11 app. They don't want to hit the refresh button 3 million times. To do that, well, they're going to be notified in real time. To notify them in real time, we're going to use SignalR. Now, SignalR is a service provided by Azure to do that real-time communication. And what's going to happen inside that is our GraphQL endpoint is going to talk to SignalR, and then SignalR is going to broadcast that message down to our Windows 11 app. That sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Now, with all of that infrastructure, the resident's able to book, they're able to get updates, they're able to upload things like PDFs. Well, the last part is how we're actually going to build the Windows 11 app. And like I said before, you know I'm a React Native developer. So I thought we'd do it in React. Now, the traditional technology is actually UWP that Microsoft uses, but we can use this brilliant piece of tech called React Native for Windows and Mac OS that Microsoft has put together. So we're going to use this to build our Windows 11 app. What this is going to mean is that we're using React Native as the base. What does that mean? Well, it can go to different platforms. And that's where I lead us to the next challenge. So once we've gone through all of that, using all those technologies, building it out, we're going to do one final thing. We're going to see if we can take the app and move it to iPad. So yes, we're going to have a Windows 11 app, but we're also going to see, can we make this resident booking portal work on an iPad? And therefore, our council is going to have two apps which the citizen can use. They can either go onto their brand new Windows 11 PC, or they can go down to their iPad and request that booking, I should say. So that's what you're going to be doing across this. Let's switch back and let's quickly summarize before we wrap up. Okay, so recap time. Over the next couple of videos, well, a bit more than a couple, we're going to be making a Windows 11 app. That Windows 11 app is going to allow residents to book a free pickup of their waste. Let's dive into the requirements again. So first requirement was that the resident should be able to log in and create an account with their Gmail/Google address. Now, that's requirement number one. Requirement number two, to prove that a resident lives in an address, they're going to upload a recent utility bill, which is going to be in the format of a PDF. Those are the first two requirements. Third requirement was that they should be able to book a free pickup for their waste. And then the fourth requirement, well, they want real-time status updates inside the Windows 11 app for those requests. So when they've been booked, or when they've been approved, they should get a notification and they should be all good to go. They should know when it's going to be basically picked up. So those are our four requirements. How does it map to the tech? Well, let's talk about the tech again. Starting with the infrastructure backend, you've got an API which is done with GraphQL. That GraphQL is going to be talking to a MySQL database. That MySQL database is going to also be complemented by Azure Storage. What's the difference? MySQL database is going to hold the booking requests. Azure Storage is going to hold the utility bill because it's a PDF and it's unstructured. That's our Azure infrastructure or our infrastructure backend out of the way and done. Now, the other thing, let's go to the front end. So what are we going to build in the Windows 11 app? Well, we need to let them log in with Google. So we're going to have Google integration. The other thing that we're going to do with the Windows 11 app, well, we're going to build it with React Native, and we're going to be using React Native Windows for that. We could be doing it with UWP, that's the alternative, but we'll talk about why in a second. The other missing ingredient is we're going to use Signal R. Remember, for that real-time communication of when the request has been approved. So that's our tech layout for our front end and our back end. Now, the other thing to talk about, remember, was our bonus challenge. At the end of all these videos, we're going to see, can we migrate the app from Windows 11 to being an iPad app? And that's it for this video series. So by the end, I want you to feel confident enough to build the Windows 11 app, or at least see how to build it. And then also see that, well, by using React Native, we can fairly easily go across to an iPad, which is fairly impressive. Because now the council has both a Windows 11 app and an iPad app that a resident can log into, book a free request, and also get real-time updates. Sounds pretty amazing to me. Now, whilst this wasn't a development video, I'm hoping it was a good introduction video to what this series is going to encompass. If you liked this format, seeing this intro video first, please let me know in the comments. If I missed out anything that you would like to know before we get into development, also go to the comments, but otherwise we're going to wrap up there. So I hope you enjoy this journey and all these videos as we start to build this Windows 11 app. So this is Coder Meets Data, I'm Travis Sansom, I'm going to sign out on this one, and I'll see you in the next one.